Y'all already know what I was gonna say. Y'all already know. The bashing, the doubting of all you chess players who thought that Gukesh wasn't gonna win, shame on you. And guess what? I'm gonna admit it. I was in the same camp. I put Fabiano on top, Nakamura in second, and then I put Prague in third. I didn't know that Gukesh was going to be on top. Nobody did. Even the statistics at chess.com said that Gukesh was going to be at the bottom. But he showed everybody why he should be world champion, and hopefully he get like a really good chance to actually become world champion and maybe the youngest world champion in chess history. Let's look at these games right quick in the Candidates tournament just to prove why he won the Candidates tournament. We are going to get started. And yes, I'm holding coffee. And yes, I got a Colorado mug. Do not be judging me right now. It is early in the morning. And by early, I mean it's like 11 a.m. All right, let's get started in this game. First of all, Gukesh won in a d4 type of opening against Pragnananda. After d5, c4, then we got like a Queen's Gambit decline, and we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of this position and just skip the opening because we got a lot of games to go over. We're gonna be going over each win from the Candidates tournament and why Gukesh became the world champion and why Gukesh passed all those veteran players that played in the Candidates tournament before many other times. And he's 17. He looks like a 25-year-old. This dude is crazy. Knight to c6, bishop goes back, and then we got this position in the middle game. And this position, you already know Prague was going for a win because he sacrificed a pawn. He basically gambited off a pawn in a counterline opening. And you already know that White wanted the center. He wanted to control the center with all of his pieces, get ready for d5 pretty soon, put the rook on d1, and just go gung-ho. Now, Black's main idea in this position is to keep their pawn going to like a really good endgame and win the game because he sacrificed a pawn. That's his consequence. And that's the risk and reward of chess when you play a gambit. And so after this move, Queen e2, Bishop b7, and then we continue on with the game. And that's the first inaccuracy, but it really didn't matter because they're kind of like sharing inaccuracies at this point. Playing this move f5. It makes sense though because the bishop is already blockading the pawn on e6. And now this knight can just hop into one of these squares right here and gain a lot of activity in the position. Let's see what happens next. After the move knight to e5, we got a diamond structure here, which is awesome. We like diamond structures because these structures blockade a lot of squares from the opponent, but White does still have a dark square bishop, so they can go through these diamond type of structures. And one little advantage is that this bishop right here is never going to get open ever in its life unless White somehow, some way, attack this pawn to the point where it has to either push up or just capture it, kamikaze that whole pawn structure. After the move Queen to f5, Queen e8, and then Knight to f7, which was the worst move of the position. Knight to f7 should not have been played at all. And after Knight to f7, you can kind of see that Black's pieces started moving backwards instead of forwards, but at the same time, the computer is like, they're defending everything in the position. They're defending everything, which is amazing. So in this position, I was thinking when I was watching it live, I was like, White has the more aggressive position here. There's no way I see Prague losing here. And if I was sitting at the board right now playing this position, I'll be like, okay, I'm winning this. Clearly, I got the most pressure. My opponent cannot defend against everything, but they're at the Candidates tournament for a reason because they are powerful people. They're powerful opponents. And so after this move, rook to a7, which gave the position back to the white pieces, bishop takes, and then bishop takes on d5, which is a brilliant move, double exclamation mark. Thought that Gukesh was going to be losing this. But just look what happens here. C takes on d5, bishop goes back, queen g4, knight to d8, knight takes, queen right there. White is controlling the center, it looks like. But the scary part is, White is down a piece, and then Black has the double bishops right here. So even though White has more control over the center, they got the two rooks on the E and D file, they got the pawn on E6, they got the knight on D5. It seems like White is winning, but not exactly. If Black does all the best moves, then it is definitely just losing. which is super weird. And after rook takes on f2, Prague decided to resign. He shook hands and the game was over. Now let's move on to the next game, because all these like discovered checks is gonna be crazy. And you already know queen cannot take on g7, beginners, because rook can just take on g7 and the game is just over again. We do not want to sacrifice our ladies, brothers. Our ladies are here for a reason, even in the chess game. So let's continue. Let's continue on, because we got to go over all these ones right quick. In this game, we got Gukesh versus Vidit. And now, the game continued with e4. That's the strategy that I like. I want to see somebody playing e4 type of openings, and so that I can have, even though I'm not an e4 type of player, I'm a d4 type of player, I just like seeing the fireworks and the aggression in the position that you have to become a e4 type of player, especially to be 2700. After d3, and then we got this, in this type of position, very strategic, very, it's a lot of strategy that goes along with the moves a6 to h6. Every player should basically do this, because h6 avoids the bishop from going to g5, and a6, maybe you want to push up b5, and that's why white did the move a4, just to give you a little history in the Italian game right quick. Well, not the Italian game, it's the Gucci piano. After bishop to c5, and then we got this regular move, and I know people was already wondering, well, h1, can't white just take this pawn, and then this is just a bad position because the c pawns are doubled? No, this is not a bad position, even though this is playable for white. Actually, it's playable for both sides. And so these double pawns takes over a lot of squares, and especially that d4 square where you would want to maybe put the knight there. And white's main idea is usually to do c3, d4. And with this D file halfway open, this D4 push will never happen. And so you're gonna have to figure out another strategy to like push the opponent, pressure on the opponent, so that you can get a winning position in the future. But I digress, this is not how the game went. After C3, which they are going for this D4 push, and usually they go for the B4 push before D4. And yeah, they're just going all the way on the queen side. Okay, got the knight there, got the rook in a weird position. Gukesh he's finessing his opponent a little bit, poking and prying. That's a poking and prying move, Gukesh. I appreciate those. I talk about those moves all the time when I be streaming. And so after king h2, b6, attacking the queen. Okay, we're poking and prying again. We got the triplets on the A file, and by triplets, we got the three little pigs on the A file, and yes, the queen is included in that, and we got the knight going to f5, and white's position, it kind of looks like it's equal. So if I was sitting in a position and I didn't have the evaluation bar, of course, I would say, okay, I have a lot of pressure on my opponent right now if I'm the white pieces, because we got two rooks on the same file as the king, and we got this knight on f5, and these rooks, are they really doing something? I know they got the main move, which is here if they want to equalize, but are they really doing something? Let's continue on with the game. After that rook move, and then we got this rook trade, and this is when everything just goes wrong with this move c5. c5 was the worst move that Vidit could do. The computer actually wanted the move to be made g4, just go all in on this kingside attack. But I digress. After c5, and g4 isn't even a human move to do. And black was already winning this whole game. The king is out, and you already know who's losing in this position. When the king is on h4, the game is lost. The game is over. We got so many checks, and we got so many checkmates that can happen. And after this position continue on, we got the rook takes on f5, sacrifice, double exclamation mark. E takes on f5, queen g3, and then we have knight to h7. And the opponent decided to resign, because after king takes on h5, we have this move, queen takes on h3, which is checkmate. Let's continue. Really bad game. Commentators was going crazy. I forgot who was commentating on that day, but I digress. Let's just continue on. We got this game that I actually watched live. I didn't watch the last one live, but I actually watched this one live. Gukesh against Alireza. And when I was streaming, I was telling everybody, yeah, Alireza might be losing this because he's already having a bad tourney, and I think Gukesh went for that vulnerability in this game, especially being the white pieces too, that he's just been having a bad tournament. And I digress, let's just get into it right quick. We got this e4 opening, and most of these players, these high players that are 2700s, they know how to play d4 openings and they know how to play e4 openings. They play everything in all these. It's just crazy because the old Russian school of education in chess is just out the window. It's just out the window. Learn both e4, d4, and you got to remember all those lines. It's basically a memory test nowadays. I don't know. Put your thoughts in the comments about that, about what you think about these super grandmasters that know everything about chess and that can play everything. Bishop c5, and then we got this position here. Bishop c4, c3, bishop goes back, knight c4, bishop goes back again. A lot of bishop moves by the black pieces, but usually in these Italian game type of structures, piece movement and putting your pieces on the right squares is very important. Like, I don't really know if knight c4 is the best square for the knight, so they might be like switching it. That's actually a really creative way to switch the knight to like e3 to f5 eventually. And so after the knight goes to e3, queen f3, and we got this move d5 after castling. And now the game is getting wild because what happens after pawn takes, and then knight takes? Wait a minute. I missed the move. Wait a minute. What happens after pawn takes, a4, bishop got to move back? Or what happens if the bishop just captures? If bishop just captures, there's so many traps along with the move d5 here that white is going to have to look after. And I remember watching this, I was like, what's the point of d5? And that a4 move is very tricky. Alireza with the tactics, because everybody knows that he's really good at bullet chess. And so after bishop to c2, g6, rook e1, capture, h3, bishop goes to a4, attacking the rook, and Alireza just does not care and does the move e4. You can tell at the last few games, they are really trying their best to attack the opponent as much as possible. I don't care if I'm the black pieces, I don't care if I'm the white pieces, it does not matter at all. I'm going to get this win. That's the mentality that they had in this game right now. And so after pawn captures, queen e2, knight goes back, and then we got this other crucial position that's going to be happening here, g3, b3, and then we got this position here. Somewhat already the end game. Alireza has a winning position. I mean, they have moves like f4 that can come out of nowhere here. White has a very compact position, weirdly enough. And you can see that this is a common theme in Gukesh play. He was just allowing his opponents to attack him, and he was just defending correctly. Nobody could attack correctly, and that's the problem. The people that become world champions can defend like a mastermind. They could defend like a mastermind. I mean, Magnus Carlsen defended a whole lot of positions that I didn't know that was defendable. After there, we got rook to d5, and I thought that Alireza Firouzja was gonna just kick him out the standings and win this game. But we was all wrong, because after a while, knight goes there, g5, knight goes here. Okay, open up the g file, queen f2, rook there, attacking that pawn, rook to d1, and I like white's position now. White's position actually looks pretty good. And in this position, we continued on with rook to h6, rook back to d1, and they was just trying to get time control, which, if you don't know what that means, there's a second time control after you get past the 40th move, and they get 30 minutes added on to their clock. And so after queen to h4, rook captures, and king h8, king goes to f2, queen captures, and then we're just doing these little pokes. We're just prying here. We're just prying because I guess a simple question is, why didn't just king go to h7? I don't know. Probably was trying to avoid this move, rook to b6, trying to capture this pawn. And this is a really passive position, very passive. And by the computer standards, actually losing. And so after this move, rook to e8, rook takes, knight goes in. And I'm thinking black's main idea is to get this pawn on a2 and get that pawn running, because it's only 2 squares away from the promotion square. And after that rook captures there, this is already losing. Alireza Firouzja just lost a knight rook endgame, and that's basically what just happened here. And it is still tricky And you probably wondering why is the rook still on the 6th rank is because it's trying to avoid this knight from going to f6. And that knight going to f6 is a very dangerous square. It was almost checkmate since the king was at the corner. And so after a few more moves, king goes to g3, white won because there's no way to stop this pawn. There's no way to stop everything in this position, even if, let's see, let's just continue on right quick. Rook captures, b7, I'm guessing rook b2, and we could do rook c8 and just queen the pawn, or we can just do knight to b6, and there is no way to defend this position at all for the black pieces. Next, we have this game here, which is amazing. All these games are amazing. How we did this, I don't know. But I digress. He's going against Abasov, which most people already claimed that he was the punching bag of the whole tourney, which it kind of proved it by his score in the candidates tournament. But anyway, let's go along with this. He got the white pieces, and this game was pretty self-explanatory here. We got like a weird Petrov defense here. Bishop e2, castle kingside, rook e1, and Abasov was trying here. Not enough pressure though. Exactly in this position. We got this move c3, bishop f5, and it was a very boring position. White has a little bit of an edge because they got a battery on the e file. The queen is on f7, rook goes to e1, queen goes to c2, and yeah, Gukesh did his best to just keep his position. And this is a very strategical game because Abasov's rooks are just not in the game right now. The only pieces that he is going forward with is that queen on d5 and that knight on f5, which is, I mean, they're holding it strong, but not as strong as as they should have. And Gukesh was really trying to win this game. Abasov did not want to play in the tournament anymore because you can already tell that he wanted that draw immediately so that he can get out of here from all these beasts, all these monsters. But Gukesh was like, nope, let's not repeat. We're going to do the move rook to e4 because I already know that I'm winning. And we're going to pin that knight several different times, and we're going to attack that knight with all of our pieces. What are you going to do? Well, he did the move d3, attack the queen, take pawn, king goes over, and yeah, this was just a slow torture for our opponent here. Gukesh did a magnificent job, just like slowly diminishing your opponent's efforts in this position. Queen c3, okay, knight to e4, there was something missed here. What was the move that was missed? Even though it really doesn't matter, just queen takes on c6. Just be brave and do. Queen takes on c6. Which is amazing because Rick can just take on g2. But man, the computer is really brave. Who would do that? Well, apparently he did it because our knight is on e4 and the rook just goes to e7. And then knight to f6, king captures, and that's how white is up a pawn right now. Just because of that exchange, that tactic. And yeah, Gukesh was able to win a queen pawn endgame. Usually these endgames ends in a draw. But apparently, Gukesh, with 1 minute on the clock, got the win. This is crazy. And this game was more than like, we're at the 78th move. Oh, and then he threatened a draw. This was a draw technically. What just happened here for this not to be a draw? Something happened. There's many chances of a draw here, but it did not happen. And yeah, Gukesh won at this last minute because after the king goes down, then we have this magnificent move, queen to f5, trades, and there's no way to stop that pawn from queening ever in Black's mind, okay? The king placement, the pawn placement was really good. Abasov could have got a draw, but he just wasn't fighting. He wasn't fighting enough. And so, yeah, that was that really the last game? And this was the last game that we're going to be showing here that Gukesh actually, and we are going to be the black pieces. Gukesh was the black pieces, Abasov was the white pieces. Gukesh won both games against Abasov, and that could have helped. That would have helped a lot in this tournament, getting Abasov out the way, and not all players took advantage of Abasov in the way that Gukesh did. It sucks, but at the same time, you know, they put Abasov in the tournament for a reason. And so, yeah. After this move b5 here, and then we got this position, they're attacking the rook, bishop c5, we got the double of the rooks on the d file, and it seemed like that Abasov was actually going for a win here, and with the black pieces, he was actually going for a draw, but this is nasty, queen trades, nothing too crazy is happening, even though the computer is already showing that black has a little bit of an advantage here, and it is probably because of this extra pawn that's already on the A file. And these games probably just took a long time to play, but at the end of the day, he got the win, so it really doesn't even matter. Knight takes on g6 here, king goes to g7, and all right. Abasov was just finessing this position. All of his pieces are on better squares. And remember, bishop cannot take on a5, on a4 here because of this move, knight to c3, which is forking the bishop and king at the same time. Push pawn, king g5, king d3. All right, Gukesh is trying to push. And it's crazy because most people would say that since Abasov got the double bishops, he should be winning because he gets to take care of more squares of any other or coordination of minor pieces than the knight bishop or the two knights. But I digress. If you're up a pawn, then you're up a pawn. And that's basically what this is showing. And they got the A pawn, but there is no way for white to stop this H pawn. And yes, this is why Abasov resigned against Gukesh again. And so these two wins is probably the reason why he won the candidates tournament and why he has the opportunity of going against Ding Liren in the World Chess Championship. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. We're going to see what's exactly going to be happening or what openings that they're going to be using in the World Chess Championship. I wonder what Ding Liren has prepared for Gukesh, because he is still a young player, but in this candidates tournament, he played like an old man. He played like a mature, older veteran in the game. And yes, I'm with it. I'm proud of it. And we actually got something new. And maybe, just maybe, Magnus Carlsen might come back to, if Gukesh actually wins against Ding Liren, there's a chance that Magnus Carlsen might come back. Maybe. He probably got to get married first. I don't know. But exciting games. Thank you for being here. See y'all next time.